Oriel Park, Dan. So Gary will chat to us about Premier League. That's on the way. Oriel Park, Dundalk, Drogheda on Friday. 51 scorch marks. They've done a full investigation and they reckon 51 scorch marks on the pitch of various depths. 12-year-old child struck by a flare and sustained burns to his face.
I mean, yeah, there was a video going around of the kid in the aftermath. Yeah,
how bad?
Well, I think that a jacket sort of caught fire. I think there was an element of, luck involved from what I can gather. You know, I mean, that sounds very sort of almost glib to say it that way. Like, obviously got struck, but definitely it was a vibe of could have been worse. You know, could have been worse. Like, not someone who was like, you know, visibly taken away to hospital on the night or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, not that type of thing. But I mean, that's just like. I mean, that's just like, who cares really, like in the sense of it happened. So it's not an excuse that you get lucky, you know what I mean? But yeah, that sort of seems to be what happened there.
Okay, good. Because I generally look, he's a 12, is it he or she?
He, yeah.
12-year-old, so obviously has a right to his privacy. But I was sort of encouraged that I saw he's a bit shook up as opposed to the phrase you would often see in these instances, like a life-changing injury. So it's not in that realm.
I don't believe so.
Okay,
no.
Good. Both clubs have condemned what happened. So this was the newly relayed artificial surface at Oriel Park, unveiled that evening.
With the Minister for Sport.
Come to him.
And various dignitaries there. So like, this was a perfect storm, you could say, in terms of like the evening for this to happen.
Well, we'll come to him on what he's had to say about potential ramifications, but give us the 3D I was there version.
Yeah, I mean, like, this was an eagerly anticipated game. And people are broadly aware of the context, I'm sure, but just in case they're not, Dundalk are just back in the Premier Division. So this is their first Premier Division game at Oriel Park since the end of 2024. Loud derby, really big home game to start the season. You know, I got into Dundalk around an hour and a half or so before kickoff. And there was some Drogheda fans kept in at the train stations. It was just like this real sense of activity and this hum of sort of life and atmosphere. And like the pitch and the floodlights like was a big story, because at one point over the winter there was real concerns over where would Dundalk be able to play. Will they get a licence? Government funding came forward to allow this to happen. And I mean, I must admit, I'm going to Oriel Park a long time, and you know, I went into the ground on Friday, and I couldn't believe it. Like, the pitch was green. Like, people might have seen Oriel Park on TV during the sort of the glory years under Stephen Kenny. Horrible surface. The floodlights were perfect. I actually met someone, a new member of the board there, who flipped open his phone and said, look at the floodlights. He could actually put the beam up to 100. And he actually did it as a little tester for me. And all the whole ground went a little bit lighter.
Sorry,
and the goalkeeper turned around, Conor Cairns turned around and was like, what was that all about?
Sorry, this board member has an app on his phone where he controls the brightness.
Yes. I was like, if something goes dark here later on, you know, but like, this is...
And hang on, he was showing off his shiny new toy to a journalist.
I'm trying to run under the bus here.
I mean, it is the greatest league in the world.
But like, it was...
What an image. So hang on, he went to 100.
Yeah.
What's the standard?
It was at 80 at the time, and it was going to go up to 100 at kickoff, you know.
Right.
It was the warm-up, but then the warm-up all of a sudden, it's like someone comes into the room and they put on the main lights, if you prefer lamps, you know what I mean?
Nothing worse than overhead lighting. Yeah. Just like, let's leave that up. But so he blasted it to 100.
Blasted to 100 just to see that this is how it works.
And what did you do?
I just said, whoa, yeah, that's impressive.
Because I would associate Dundalk down the years with like, the pitch is dark, those black pellets, and then the floodlights, you know, shadows everywhere.
Yeah. I when I got in, like, Kieran Donaghy was on the pitch because he works with the company. He was on Live Line today as well. He was brought into this. He's with the company who installed the pitches, and yeah, there was just that, like, and there was that. The reason I tell that story about the Dundalk person coming in was the sense of pride. It was like,
can I ask one last question?
Look at this place.
Do they all have the app on their phone that they can control?
I don't know.
Just this person.
I don't know.
I don't know if that person should be entrusted with it.
No, this person like manages projects. They're a very responsible person.
Oh, Dan, look at my new toy.
Yeah.
Woo! Down to 0, up to 100.
To be clear, it was like an hour before the game. If it happened during the match, that would be slightly more concerning.
Okay. So it's feel good.
It's feel good. And like, as I said, I couldn't believe the buzz around the place just coming up to the game. I was like, what has happened? Like, this is since the good old days under Kenny, and it looked a bit better than it did then. I was like, well, I know Drogheda fans would say there's still issues with the away section or whatever, and that's not all has to be taken on board as well. It is what it is. It's better than it was, but it still is what it is. Like, but that was the vibe. It was lively, but in a sort of a good way.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
A vibrancy.
Yeah.
So then, little ceremony on pitch to unveil.
Yeah, there was a ribbon cutting with Patrick was on, but Joanna Byrne was in the photo as well, who'd been in the news last week with the her stance on Ireland Israel and the Drogheda comments about that. I think you discussed that briefly in the show last week. So like that's obviously hanging in the air as well too. And I mean there are two sides to this, and we maybe we'll talk about it. Like Drogheda United this weekend are dealing with the aftermath of this, also dealing with the possibility of their owners leaving because of this broader situation. Okay. So the stress of the bad publicity from this is sitting alongside maybe a greater stress.
Right.
And Kevin Doherty, that's why there was so much going on Friday. Kevin Doherty afterwards, the Drogheda manager, is talking about how he hadn't ate or slept for 48 hours because of this situation enveloping the club. So there was enough going on around Drogheda already before this.
We'll come back to Joanna Byrne and Drogheda and Travella in a moment, or later on in the show. So when did the flares start landing?
Just when the teams come out. Just as the teams come out, to shake hands or whatever, there was a display. And as you will see online, there's this like ultras group. Like this was recorded. Someone on the pitch was like recording this display. So you've actually very clear footage of it, of like flares being chucked on. And I think there was two waves. I know you said, was it 51 you said? I didn't know about that. Some of them would have been after the match, because after the match when Drogheda equalised in the 88th minute and then at full time there was a few more. But I'd say it was around 30-ish, I'd say, before the game. And they were chucked out, and there was little fires on the pitch. The fire brigade were coming along. And even when the game started, it might not have been visible on TV, there was a little fire ongoing on the side of the pitch, not on the pitch, but just sort of in the touchline area.
Flares are obviously commonplace at League of Ireland games and have been for some time. Are they generally thrown on the pitch, grass or artificial? Or was this, what I'm asking you in effect, was this done with the intention of trying to destroy the new artificial pitch?
Look, there were social media posts during the week, and the people who posted them may distance themselves from them and just say, look, they were just making comments. But there was comments from, and they are there, asking questions about how 5G pitches would be resistant to fire. There were comments building up of that nature during the week. Not too many of them, but a couple of them. And then, so that was one thing that was said to me afterwards. Like, there was a lot of local unhappiness afterwards from people around Dundalk, and they were saying, someone come up to me and sent me screenshots on Friday night of messages during the week from Drogheda fans joking about this possibility.
And if you were to be unbelievably generous and give benefit of the doubt to an extreme case, you could say, okay, it wasn't done with the intent of destroying the pitch, but it would have to occur to you as a possibility.
Yeah, you're trying to get into the head of people with this, but
that's what
I'm sure.
That's why I asked: do they routinely throw flares even on grass pitches?
Probably not as coordinated display as that. For example, last year, or I suppose 2024, Bows suffered a ban. There was an away game ban. They were playing in Richmond Park, and there was a flare or two thrown on. Actually, hit one of their own players, in response to an incident in the game. It'd be more so unusual to have a volume of them before the game. Now, look, there have been games in the past. I think someone was sending me pictures. Dundalk and Drogheda at one point, a flare in the pitch, but this was more of a sustained volume. And there was someone there recording this entire display.
So then we're within our rights to say, given the volume, this was done to destroy the pitch or to damage the pitch.
I think it's not an unfair comment. No.
What is it? A bunch of...
it's just it's... I think there's no doubt, as I said, the backdrop to the game plays into this. It's the local rivals, it's the brand new pitch in Dundalk. It is more this is the game to do something. And you're trying to get into the minds, and I guess, there's always the chance that And there's many layers to this. Like, there's always the chance, well, they should be stopped coming in. It's very hard. I think they can be smuggled in various ways. People will say that. But you will always have to say, could there have been more vigorous action taken? There is a certain inevitability, not inevitability, I hate to say that, but look, things will happen. Things will happen at games. Demographic of people who go to games, a lot of younger people looking for, always looking for something. I think it's just the scale of this one that there was so many, and that it was timed in such a way that, like the minister was there. This was a big night.
Yeah.
And as I said, it has now escalated to another level now. If this was, say, not a marquee game in the evening and the minister isn't there and it wasn't the first day of the pitch, it's a story, but it doesn't necessarily go to the places that it's gone 3 days on.
Well, here is Minister for Sport, Patrick O'Donovan, this morning, Monday, with David McCullough.
Yeah, look, I mean, the government had given €500,000 of an investment to Oriel Park following a sports capital grant application. And it had only been opened, I suppose, less than 20 minutes from the formal opening ceremony, and the next thing, it was on fire, and it was gougerism and thuggery at its worst form, where people obviously came to the match armed with flares, armed with missiles, to cause criminal damage, and in the process, as you said there a while ago, a young child got injured, but got burnt, and the pitch got very significant damage caused it. So, not a great night had by all. It was a disgrace, actually, to be quite honest about it.
No, I mean, you're sitting there and you're looking at what's unfolding. Taxpayers' money being wasted.
Well, taxpayers' money literally going up in smoke.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to the FAI and the league about it. And I've spoken to my own department. We're not going to be doing this a second time, to be quite honest about it. I've asked the department to pause all AstroTurf investments into League of Ireland clubs until I get what I would see is a sufficient response from the FAI and the League of Ireland to not only to protect our investment, but to protect innocent patrons as well.
So he said as well he's sought a meeting with the Minister for Justice, Jim O'Callaghan, and he has set up a meeting with the FAI and the League of Ireland for this week, stressing he wants to see proposals on the issue of flares at games. If it's a thing that the FAI come back to me and the League of Ireland come back to me and say there's not much we can do about it, then we'll look at legislation. So he's on the warpath. It's a juicy political topic, I would say. Approval rating firmly on his side. So the consequences for Irish football are not lovely.
I mean, I feel obliged to point out that I think in his own Facebook story from the ground on Friday, captioned "Great Derby," he also included in that a display involving flares from Dundalk fans on the opposite side of the pitch, so I feel obliged to sort of make that point as well too. And there's always the fine line with this flares issue, and that quite often, and the FAI have had this issue themselves in the past, that like when it works, it can create this sort of great appearance that is often used in promotional material to advertise this experience. Look at this. This looks completely wow. Look at this display. And everyone will sort of point to that, and you have all these YouTubers and sort of various people are coming from at times from around Europe to Ireland to make like videos and look at the atmosphere at these stadiums. So there's always that fine line between, this looks really good, to then the abuse of them, which makes it public order issue number one. And there's no doubt I don't want to appear hypocritical because I don't want to downplay the severity of what happened on Friday, but equally there was a sort of an over the top tone, I thought, to his performance this morning too. I don't think it's unfair to make those 2 points. I mean, I think it just went a little bit far. But I mean, I suspect he's just rattling a few cages there as well too, and there's an element of playing the political game with that as well.
Top quality grandstanding. I want to know when he thought of the line of, because he couldn't get in quick enough when David McCullough was saying it's like taxpayers' money going up in smoke, literally. He just had to jump back in with that. It's funny because oftentimes you hear politicians come out on issues and you're like, God, he's really going over the top, and it was kind of pretty performative, but he's not wrong in the point he was making either. Like, you have to acknowledge it was an awful scene. Like a child got injured, and like the pitch is one thing, but then when you hear like the 12-year-old getting injured as well, like you have to call it a spade a spade. Like it was shocking, and like he's not wrong in what he says, albeit maybe it was somewhat performative.
It's grim. It's unbelievably grim. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, really.
Yeah, I just don't know where it goes. I mean, I think, as I said, there is a perfect storm element to it that I feel like there will be consequences from this, you know, and the clubs involved have to take it seriously. They will. I think the FAI, because of their relationship with government, are conscious that their eyes are going to be on them and how they deal with this. So you will see some kind of strong sanctions, I think, pushed out. Now, again, he was talking about, you know, he wants people up in court and sort of custodial sentences and all of this. Do I see it going to that level? I'd be surprised.
And do you see a genuine clampdown on flares?
Are they illegal now? Sorry.
They're tolerated in a very wink and a nod.
But are they actually illegal?
I don't think
Well,
you're
he
allowed.
was talking today about making it an offence, Patrick O'Donovan. Again, there was a lot in what he said.
But you're not permitted to bring a flare into a game.
No, and the FAI at times in the last couple of years have tried to go strong on this in response to certain instances. I referenced that Bose one, and there was a couple of other ones, but they still managed to get in. And I know people would say as well that there's like cold pyro, and there's different ways, like safer ways of doing it. Because I genuinely don't think that people want to lose the displays, and that sometimes these ultras groups, they can do things that add to the ambiance of a game. And there's always been this debate around, well, is there a safer way of doing it? Is there sections where people are very clearly designated to stand and that's it, you know? Whereas obviously in the middle of a crowd where they're getting chucked over people and hitting the wrong people.
Wild.
I mean, that is wild. And it is like, it's one wrong turn away from something totally catastrophic. And that's the point that people in the FAI have made. And like, again, it's just against my natural instincts to adopt that sort of that tone. Well, just be careful, this could happen. But it's very hard to argue the opposite point when you see like a 12-year-old child has been hit at a football game by your own supporters. I mean, you're not talking about hyper intelligence here. You know, when it comes to that, you'd love to. I don't want it to go from like 100 to 0. Like, as I said, has to be a way of allowing some of these more creative displays, but just in a completely different way.